Hi, you're listening to the fourth episode of TechTalk series brought to you by Studio Mac, and I'm Dr. Manasa Khan. Today we're going to talk about cognitive biases from a neuropsychological perspective. But first, I tell you what's the need of discussing it in today's podcast. Is it what you're thinking? Individuals who tend to be compulsive, impulsive, or repulsive. After making decisions, they always struggle because they're kind of driven by biases and fail to calculate the aftermaths while making a move. Cognitive bias badly affects an individual's personal life, and the ones living around them also suffer. So the first question is how to identify if your cognitive is biased or not. If you have ever noticed, our actions are driven by emotions, and these emotions are based on an individual's memories or routine observations or experiences which are retained in your brain. This constitutes memory and associate emotion with it. Emotions, memories, and actions make a triangular relationship. Your ability to see and comprehend things can be superficial or deep-rooted in your neural connections, depending on your attitude towards life. Ask yourself these questions. Do I make effort to find out realities? How often I try to find out the root cause of a problem? Do I assess the consequences before reaching a conclusion and making a decision? Do I confirm information before passing on to others, like whether the source is credible or not? If the answer to all these questions is no, there are chances that you have biased cognitive abilities, and it might be in certain ways badly influencing your day-to-day activities. Let's take a deeper look in emotions, memories, and actions relationship from a neuropsychological perspective. So how brain stores information, which is later translated into emotions, resulting in biased behavior of an individual. This is important. The way we process information from past, interpreted, and routine inside our head defines our behavior and response to the present events. There are 5 types of memories that our brain can store. Sensory memories, which are created as you see, hear, touch, or smell something. And then there are short-term, long-term, and working memories. An interesting one is episodic memory, which is basically a memory of high sentimental values. An embarrassing moment, for example, you black out when you have to say something important to someone and act awkward. That moment of awkwardness will keep bothering you throughout the day, maybe whole week, depending on how important that event was. Parts of brain that store memories are prefrontal cortex for short-term memories, neocortex for information processing, reasoning, and learning. It creates logic-based information obtained from hippocampus, and then there is a designated part of the brain that stacks up sentimental emotional memories. Yes, it's called amygdala. If your hippocampus in temporal lobe gets damaged, guys, you can't store new memories. Now coming to the part where emotions are associated with every single piece of memory. Your past experience with a combination of sensory information with associated emotion, and sometimes it's so strong that the past event becomes an episodic memory, good or bad, depending on the situation a person is in at that particular moment. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. I think John Keats said for the same reason. Now coming back to the point, what evokes emotional experience with an event? For example, a surprise visit from someone you're completely not expecting on your birthday, a sense of joy created by happiness hormone, excites your brain and ultimately you feel good. That feeling is then stored in your amygdala. It becomes a long-term memory, and your brain will remember every year when your birthday comes. So the crux is it's hormones and neurotransmitters that create feelings and associate emotion with an event. It excites your brain to remember it depending on the type of the hormones released. The transmission of electrical activity of brain is facilitated by neurochemicals. At synaptic cleft, the junction of 2 neurons, it's the neurotransmitter like acetylcholine that transfer electrical signal. Hormones, on the other hand, perform action at a distance. A neurotransmitter can also be a hormone, for example, oxytocin. Let's take a look at hormones that arouse diverse feelings and sometimes mixed feelings. I won't be too scientific while demonstrating it so that it's easier for everyone to understand. Adrenaline is a heart-throbbing hormone. It makes you feel high in the states of dangerous, stressful situation or when you're excited. It increases your blood pressure and heart rate, provides you surplus energy to carry out tasks that stimulate its release. Cortisol is a steroid, and I'm going to give it a name, energy hormone. It's high in the morning, and other than this, its trigger is the stress. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter released by the central nervous system, and it's a mood booster. Caffeine in coffee and chocolate stimulate its release. It makes you feel happy. So it's called happy hormone. Endorphins are pain-relieving neurochemicals produced in brain, and they have analgesic activities that are produced by pituitary glands. Melatonin is a regulator of your biological clock released by pineal gland, and it's high at night. Serotonin is a serenity neurochemical. It is a mood and sleep regulator. Low levels in individuals result in violent and aggressive behavior. The individuals tend to behave rash on little things. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter as well as neuromodulator. All these hormones and neurochemicals affect your brain activity as they circulate in your bloodstream and help remember an event tagged with an emotion. For example, I had this delicious breakfast at XYZ restaurant. Next time I pass by it, I'll be tempted to re-order it. Now coming back to bias. Cognitive bias is like a glitch in your brain. It badly impairs your perceptive abilities. The preconceived notions lingering inside your brain encourage you to take shortcuts to conclude something in advance. An effortless decision made by a lazy brain. This is how I describe it. Consequences of having a biased cognitive ability. What do you think? Accurate information is distorted and communicated with a wider audience, resulting in misinformation. Cognitive bias also damages one's critical thinking abilities. There are different types of biases, but before we get into it, I want to quote here Schachter, a great American psychologist. His work, Seven Sins of Memories. He says human memory is fallible. Categorically, he placed memories, misdeeds into 7 sins: transience, absent-mindedness, blocking, misattribution, suggestibility, bias, and persistence. First 3 are related to oblivion, while next 3 are types of distortions, and last one, persistent, is an intrusive recollection as defined by Schachter, and it's kind of hard to forget. We tend to miss fine details because of this memories misdeeds and retain superficial remnants of what we saw and experienced and pass it on to others. It can be potentially dangerous at times. Today, I'm going to discuss with you 12 different types of biases. So, the first one is confirmation bias. The information that satisfies your beliefs, you approve of it, and disregard the part that doesn't. For example, I believe apples are sweet and red in color. Now, any information that says apples can be green and yellow and can have sweet taste, I believe the sweet part, but I know the color change. Because this is not how I've seen the apples are. The second one is Dunning-Kruger effect. Your simplistic approach to look at a problem. Mostly it's common in people who draw conclusions or make strong opinions after a superficial look at things. And here fits the example of lazy brain that makes effortless decisions. The third one is in-group bias. When you believe that someone in your social group is more reliable, trustworthy. I have experienced in-group bias a lot in my life. Seriously. The fourth one is self-serving bias. This type of bias is common in people who don't want to take responsibility. So when the things happen, they take credit and blame others when things go wrong. Availability or heuristic bias. This is about most recent information that your brain can use while making decision or evaluation. It's common in those individuals who lack critical thinking abilities. So it's like you make a haste and you just reach a conclusion based on information which is recently available in your brain. The sixth one is fundamental attribution bias. So it's like you have explanation to your problem, but you fail to understand others and they present you the same problem. I can get late in the morning because something happened to me and I can explain it to someone. But when others get late and they report the same problem, I won't actually accept it. So this is attribution bias. Hindsight bias. It's common in people who think they know everything only after it happens. Outcomes are overconfidence and overestimation of your own abilities. Anchoring bias. In this kind of bias, your focus lingers around first available information and you neglect others' relevant details. So technically, your focus is anchored. Optimism bias. It's the overestimation of positive outcomes. You should be well prepared that sometimes in life things can go awry. Pessimism bias. This is an underestimation of one's abilities. All bad things happen to me. I can't do it. It won't happen. Nothing good happens. Situation you encounter with some people. This is called pessimism bias. The halo effect. We make impression of a person, company, or business when experienced first good impression. This makes us believe them or it to be overall good. And the last one is the status quo effect. It's common in people who are resistant to change. Don't move my table. Leave it as it is. Your preference to keep things in current state or unwillingness to move out of your comfort zone. This is called status quo effect. And such individuals see change as some kind of loss. These biases are created by former experience and exposure, which our brain remembers in the form of memories. Each memory has an emotion attached with it. Envy, jealousy, sloth, happiness, lust, greed, whatever it is. This creates biases like confirmation, self-serving, Dunning-Kruger, in-group, hindsight, and fundamental attribution. Feeding your biased cognitive abilities only harm your personal growth and development. It affects quality of your life and those around you. On the other hand, getting into an argument with someone having biases can be challenging at times because quite often people fail to acknowledge such a thing exists. Persistent negative emotions or being surrounded by those who drain your positive energy affect your emotional well-being. It causes hormonal imbalance and indirectly affect your brain's ability to perform well. An ultimate guide to handle bias or biased thoughts is to be open-minded, keep a leeway for others. We all are humans and can harbor bias based on our life experiences and motivations. There is a cognitive behavioral therapy to manage it better in a shorter duration with a combination of brain conditioning exercises. We offer CBT for folks struggling in decision-making process and have trouble dealing with challenging colleagues. Takeaway is the way you look at things, define your perceptive abilities, which is intertwined with cognitive abilities and emotional well-being. Take very good care of yourself, everybody. Till the next episode, goodbye and have a wonderful day ahead.